Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome to Beyond Your Radio Unknown Sundays. What is Unknown Sundays? This is where we take an artist or band or something related in the music industry, music that could be relatively unknown to most of the masses and might have the ability to become something for our listeners, watchers to explore and appreciate. Please remember that this is an extension of the article section on beyondyourradio.com. So if you want the full detail written there by clever old me, ha ha ha, you can look there. This episode, we explore bad English, 1988 to about 1991. The fierce radio competition from all kinds of music sounds, from pop to hard rock, to the emergence of more solidified rap, made the poker table of the music in that time a little difficult, but they played the best hand they could in two albums of hard rock pop ballad. That was Bad English. If you haven't subscribed yet, we certainly hope you do. We actually lost a subscriber this weekend. Apparently, someone was offended we were at 69. Oh well. If you have already subscribed, you know what we do here, so we'll keep it going for you and keep it moving. So, Bad English. When I see you smile, I can face the world. And that they did for a brief stint. The incredible led American-British not-so-hard rock supergroup Bad English was John Waite at the vocal front with bandmates from Journey, which was keyboardist Jonathan Cain, Neil Sean, and drummer Dean Castronovo joins, along with bassist Ricky Phillips, who in actuality is from Styx, although they do cite him as with the Babies or something, which I don't know if anybody knows who the Babies are. But later on, Ricky Williams goes on to be the bassist for Coverdale Page, as well as Ted Nugent. So we've got some people that are talented in the room, which is fantastic. But when you think about it, with a proven single winning solo artist delivering the lyrics and this Journey keyboard loving rock ballad thing, this is all in the right wheelhouse. So let's do this, they say, and see where it goes, because separately at the time, none of them were probably going anywhere in a hiatus or didn't know. So will it work? Did it work? Let's learn us some bad English on Unknown Sundays. However, did they come up with that name, one might ask? Well, it turns out that it's just, not a mistaken English to English translation, but among the band members at a bar, apparently John Waite missed a shot at the pool table, and one of the members said, "Boy, you need your English is wrong on that." So, guess what? The band sticks to that, and Bad English becomes the name of the band. So there you go. So really, it's all about the spin they're putting on this hard rock, maybe, if you want. In 1989, well, most people were certainly, digging what was being played on radio, etc. There's a lot of going on. They had a song on that was a single release from the debut record, which is self-titled. Forget Me Not was actually the first single. It didn't get past number 40 on the charts, but in actuality, that's a good tell for the record label. So here's what happens. You've got this, I don't know, we'll call it, at my point, the entry of the band was not that song. I don't remember that song. I don't remember it being the lead single, but getting that far on that first single must have been encouraging to the record label to get them to the next level, right? So later, though, following the trend of this trying to follow radio will be the undoing of the band. Music releases can be like a game of Texas Hold'em. On the flop, it depends on the flop what you're going to do. So they get to 40. You hold back, you see where you're at, and you suck these people in. And then when you know how strong your hand is, you bring it out. Well, this includes reading the table. Even though you don't know what they have, you know who's at the table. So let's just take a look at who's at the table right now. All right? Because this leads to the whole what happens. Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation. Ruh-roh. Paula Abdul's Forever Your Girl. Big uh-oh. That's 6 times #1 singles right there. Yikes. Not to mention, Phil Collins has an album called But Seriously, so he's on radio. And Richard Marx's second album, Repeat Offender, is out there. And also, there's hot moving singles still going on from Madonna, Tone Loc, which is Wild Thing at the time, and a song by Mike and the Mechanics, if you can remember, The Living Years. It's about the death of someone, which got very popular as well. So all of that's going on. The competition is fierce, and the table is relatively full. But what everybody doesn't know is that Bad English has something in their back pocket. They have a song, and that song, despite not being any of the songs written by the band, is the strongest. And that, of course, is written by the greatest female songwriter of all time, maybe, Diane Warren, who's won Oscar, who's written more Oscar-nominated songs than any female or male. And that is a contemporary at the time rock ballad, When I See You Smile. And it would be the perfect radio hit for this band, considering how John Waite can deliver and how the Journey keyboards and the rest of the band follows along. So it would be their number one song and single from that record. And the rest, technically, is music history. This was my entry to the band. Now, this was junior year, Jeff? Well, basically summer, going into senior year, 1989.
Sure.
Right? Sure. So it fits into everything we're playing at the time, but that's where I come into the band. I have both albums. I was kind of smitten with the sound. I think it fits wonderfully into the time of rock and ballad back and forth. But my two guests today that I'm fortunate to have, who happen to have bumped into each other in Miami, Florida, Chef Jeff, the Grateful Dude, is in the house, and Jeff Young, who drove about 4 hours to get up there and meet.
Yeah.
All right. So they're on the panel. Give me your Bad English.
Well, I just think that the first thing I think of when I hear like Bad English, there's a lot of bands with the same sound at that time. So even though they have like the credibility of their future work, whether it be solo or with Journey, I think that also helps the fact that, oh, you didn't break the top 40, but we know you're going to get there, in some way. But I just feel like they're kind of like, it's kind of a cross between, say, like Richard Marx and Aldo Nova. It's like if you took Richard Marx out of there and said, hey, let's jazz up your guitars a little bit, that's kind of what I think of is it's more on that same path, like your Honeymoon Suites of the world. Anyway, that's what I think. And I think they're good albums, but I just think they get kind of lost with so many like that in that time. And I don't know that they were already having had some success. I don't think they really, maybe just that's what caused the breakup. They're just like, it's not happening for us right away. We could go do something else.
Grateful Dude?
Well, I think the reason the band was successful, moderately successful, besides being able to have a good song, basically written for them or written, that they were able to acquire, is John Waite. John Waite is incredible. His voice. Matter of fact, when I was reading about him last night, I didn't realize he's doing an extended opening for Pat Benatar right now as we speak.
Okay.
That would be an interesting show to watch.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like the band. I only really remember them from their that title track of that number one hit. That was what I knew. And at that time, I was somewhere in left field, so I wasn't really exploring new bands like that. But I remember the song absolutely. And I listened to, in the last couple of days, listened to both their albums, and I find them a good but slightly mediocre band in the direction. And as Jeff said, they sound like everybody else at the time, or anybody that was making, bank at the time. So this is one of these bands that what if they had better songs? What if they if the market wasn't so hot when they tried to go up the ladder.
I mean, they toured with White Snake, so they
Yeah.
had an opportunity, right, to get, you know.
True. Yeah. Well, I think they saw how White Snake towed that line, right? They were a rock blues band at the beginning, and then ballads kind of took over their popularity, but they managed to balance that between the male fans of the band and the female fans of the band. I don't think Bad English towed that line. I think female driven was more what was going on for them versus when you talk about Whitesnake, people maybe 10 years younger than I are huge fans of the old Whitesnake and the blues and the hard rock of it all, and they'll go to those shows, and it's not female dominated.
But
So you had, I know Jeff had heard of them. You remember them from being that When I See You Smile,
Pretty
but
much
it's nothing that you remembered back, right? And yeah,
pretty much a one-hit wonder, and at least in my brain. But they did have a few hits. But and that was basically, in the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. There were a lot of bands that went the direction of the Dinosaur. Just they got a couple of hits, they got a little bit of airplay, but they still survive in the direction of John Waite right now, because he's gone on to a spectacular career as a single soloist.
well, yeah, he's actually, I think he's played with Ringo Starr's band and
Yeah.
somebody else. I can't remember who the other one was, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So what happens here, is really the band wanted to be harder. They wanted to be the hard rock band that they wanted to be at the very beginning, but they were basically sold into, we'll call it hard rock celibacy, with their record contract, and they made it work. The second album, I guess when I listen to it now, I didn't realize how ballad heavy it actually was. It's more ballad heavy than the original.
When you get a lot of
So
ballads,
there's
when you get a lot of ballads, they start labeling you as corporate rock.
yeah, yes, yeah,
Radio
yeah.
friendly.
When your band doesn't connect with the material, that's a problem, right? And obviously, I don't know if people know this, but the band didn't survive the recording of the second album.
Oh, I
They
know.
were done when it was done. So there was, that would end the band, not even survive the recording. So at the time of listening to Backlash, I thought it did a great job of joining the hard rock blues with ballad. But now, like I look at it, it's, Dancing Off the Edge of the World and Rebels Say a Prayer are probably as hard as it gets. And if those band members wanted something more than that, they definitely had to leave it. So, it makes sense that it already wasn't working, even though it had a great sound. It was well produced. Every single album was well produced. But that was it. So, but it's something of its time. And if you go back against everything else that was going on at the time, you'll really appreciate the overall scope of the music business at that point, how large it was and all encompassing on radio. Was a beautiful time for music in all kinds of styles and stuff. So,
And if you like Bad English, which I think is refreshing to listen to now, because at the time you're like, oh, I've heard enough of this already. Then you go back to it because you really didn't get that. There was like the fourth or fifth one. You were like, okay, I was done with it. Now you're ready to go back and listen to that. It's really good. And if you like that, but you wanted something a little harder, like maybe the band wanted, well, two of those guys went and created the band Hardline. Hardline is like another like a step up version of that, like.
Good thought. I forgot about that. Yeah. So when you're involved in finding music and going back in time, like you said, refreshing is a good way of putting it. But at least the albums were well produced, that they don't seem dated. They're only dated by the idea of what the sound is at the time. It's still fantastic to listen to, and yeah.
The only thing that leads you to think, oh yeah, this is a little older, is some of the keyboards, but it's still.
But hence the journey part, right? That was keyboard laden. Journey isn't Journey without those keyboards. That's done, right? And they would have never had the success they had without the keyboard.
I agree.
If you go back and you look at on YouTube, and there's not much for band English to be shown on YouTube besides the video or something like that. But if you watch the comments in the bottom from people, they're like, "Boy, it's not refreshing." What was their things like? Well, music today needs some of this. I don't know if I subscribe to that point of view exactly, but I do think they need singer-songwriters that that care and inflect into the music rather than just writing something and moving on. That's doesn't make a connection to anybody. That you're just telling you what they did that day. That's not a song. So these are well-written songs from start to finish. So I want to thank the Grateful Dude and Jeff Young for joining us from Miami, Florida, while they're partying it up down there, because that's, if you're in Miami, I think that's the only thing you're supposed to do besides maybe get on a boat and get out of there. But I appreciate them showing up for this little ditty. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Articles, videos, podcasts, all about albums, artists, and bands. Obviously, like and comment. What was your thought process of Bad English? What was your entry? Did you even know about them? If you're younger than us in the room, maybe you didn't know. Maybe you want to go back. That's why we do this. Go beyond your radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Until next time, happy listening.